Hi, I'm Becky from Care for the Family, and I'm here with JB Gill today. Hi, JB.
Hi, Becky.
It's great to have you with us. Thank you for doing the interview with us. And so just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm JB Gill. I'm a TV presenter now. I have a farm as well, and I'm probably best known for being a member of the boy band JLS.
Oh, cool. That must have been exciting.
It was full on. Some incredible years, some incredible memories, of course. But now, of course, I have a young family, and that kind of takes up pretty much most of my time.
So you're married to Chloe?
Yes, Chloe's my wife, and I have 2 children.
Yeah.
Ace, he's 5, and Kiara, he's 1.
Brilliant. So tell me, what expectations did you have about parenting before you had children?
To be very honest with you, I didn't want to have children when I was younger. Not because I don't like children. I love children, and I've always loved children. And I think even now, I have quite a natural way with younger people, with children. But when you look around at the world that we live in at the moment, even when I was growing up, there was lots of negativity, and I just always felt like it was something that I didn't, it was a world that I didn't particularly want to bring children into, especially when, you see and hear all the things that you see and hear on the news and things like that. But, I think over time, firstly, I love the fact that with both of our children, we haven't specifically set out with the goal of having them. It's been something that kind of happened naturally, and we would say has been God-given. But at the same time, I think they've both taught me so much, and I think actually it's important for myself and Chloe, who have faith and who very strong about that, to be able to instill that into our children. But similarly for our children, in the Bible it says to be salt and to be light, and if you aren't in the world, then you can't be salt or light. So I kind of revised my ideas and my concepts of being a parent as time went on, and obviously sharing that with Chloe as well. She's always wanted to have children, and she's always been very maternal and very enthusiastic about that. And I think that's been infectious for me, really. And it's a job that I relish, I love, and I think is incredibly important. Especially in the black community as well. I think it's incredibly important to have men, in particular, fathers who are there and play that fatherly role. Brilliant,
that's amazing. So what's been the biggest joy of having children?
The biggest joy is just, I think, every single day they do something that surprises you, no matter what age they are. Kiara, who's just turned 1, she's at sort of the exploring age, so she's into everything. Relatively recently started walking, and so she's toddling everywhere, quite literally. She's the kind of child that will eat stuff off the floor and then look at you and just say, "Yeah, that was really nice."
Nice, yeah.
So it's great to kind of see her enthusiasm for life. And Ace, similarly, he's always been quite an ordered young boy, so he likes to have a plan. He wants to know exactly what's happening. He gets up and he's ready to go from the crack of dawn.
So what was your experience of family life? Did you grow up in a family of faith, or did you grow up? Yeah, tell us a bit more.
Yeah, I had a good family life, great upbringing. I spent kind of the early years of my life before sort of school in the Caribbean, and I still go back there quite a lot to Antigua, which is where my mum's from, and we lived there for a period as a family, and I've got great memories of riding horses and being in the countryside, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've kind of come full circle now, and we've got our own farm and quite a lot of space here where we live. So so they're fond memories, and I did grow up with faith, especially my mum's side. My mum used to take us to church. We used to go to a local church at the time in Dulwich, which is in South London, and I also used to spend quite a lot of time with my great aunt up in Leicester, and she's an incredible woman of faith. It's amazing some of the things that she's done, and actually she was a child evangelist, so although she doesn't have her own children, we were kind of like her grandchildren, and she's got, when I say grandchildren, she's probably got an army of them, that she's encouraged in the faith, and some have gone on to be ministers, some have gone on to do all sorts of things, and for her, I think she's incredibly proud of kind of, I suppose, flying that flag and representing God in that way, because I think young people are important, and for me, having that influence from her, especially obviously from my mum and from other people within the church growing up, has been instrumental in my life and in my faith. And even at school as well, I went to a Church of England school, and just doing things like being involved in the choir there or playing in church, musical instruments and stuff like that. Obviously, music was a big part of my upbringing as well. Has really helped to kind of, I suppose, give me a different perspective on life and shape me as a person as well. So I've had lots of involvement in all different types of churches within Christianity.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And is that something that you want to share with your children as well now, your faith?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I want to share with my children. I think it's, as parents, we have a duty of care towards our children, and just as we have a duty of care to the world and our world around us and our planet, we've been given charge, I believe, over our children, and that's our job. We're to be stewards of their lives. And sometimes we misinterpret that as parents. We feel that they're our kids, and so we want them to do what we think's best for them. But actually, I see it as more of a nurturing role. There obviously will be times where you're like, no, you can't do that, or yes, you should do this. But at the same time, I think for me anyway, and definitely for myself and for Chloe, it's more important for us to kind of guide them and steer them in their strengths, help them to develop their weaknesses, and obviously just to be all-round great people. But I think, having faith is an intrinsic part of that, and having, Jesus as part of their lives and have for them to be able to develop a relationship with God is incredibly important to us. We've always felt that it's important for us to worship as a family, and for us also to introduce God and the Bible and Jesus and all those other aspects of faith to our children. And, it may well be that as they get older, they feel that that's not for them, and I do always say that, anything to do with Christ, Jesus Christ, is a personal affirmation. Like, you can't carry that for your children. But I think if we do our job right in showing them, making that introduction, and also by directly living that as well, I think it makes a huge difference. And, I think children as well, in general, across the board, are very receptive to those, to spiritual things, that often adults tend to be less receptive to. And, I think it's really important to kind of develop and nurture them, their spirits and their, as well as their bodies and their minds.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be really hard with little children, though, especially. I think, I don't know that I've found, like, trying to do a family devotional or trying even to get to church can be quite a battle with little children. So have you found any ways of, like, bringing God into everyday life that can help with that?
For me, I think it's about doing simple things, little things that can kind of remind you, but also obviously introduce your children to that fact. And so we do try and do, it's not so much a devotional, but we, with Ace being 5, we do a bedtime story before bed anyway, and I do a story that he really wants, I don't know, just say a fictional book or whatever, and then we always do we call it a Bible book, but whatever it might be, it could be a story about Noah, or it could be, he's got like a big sort of volume of like Bible stories, or it could be, there's lots of obviously modern stories and stuff that just tells you about God. One of his favourites is God Knows All About Me. But it can be difficult because even in that setting, which he is, enthusiastic about at 5, Kiara's still up and walking around and doesn't want to sit down on the lap and read the story. So sometimes you can get frustrated and just think, this is the time to sit down now and actually have a story, and then it's bedtime. But it doesn't always work out like that. And so I think it's important to be flexible. And as much as we take that seriously, we do pray before we go to bed. Now it's just a part of Ace's routine. So if I'm not home, Ace is just like, oh, no, I want Daddy to pray. You know what I mean? And obviously he'll do it with Chloe as well if I'm not there. And like you say, it's tough sometimes with Kiara. She's just about 14, 15 months, and she's still in kind of the 2 nap phase of life, and her nap usually will start around about 9:30, 10 o'clock, which of course is when our church starts. So it's really tough sometimes, especially for Chloe, because she wants to come to church and wants to be, filled with the word from the Bible, and wants to learn, wants to grow, and it's almost like you have to put that on hold, and she said that to me before. She's kind of had to put that on hold because of that sacrifice that you give for your children. And you want what's best for them at the end of the day as well. And for her to be, grumpy and, really, I suppose frustrated as well, with her day because she's not been able to have a nap because she's quite young still, I think is really, really tough. So you're always working through different challenges and, you never have it right. But I think it's nice to be able to have things that you can do, just little things like, I always give Ace the opportunity to pray when we eat, which is a really short, quick prayer. and he'll just do it because he's like really hungry. So that's cool and it's fun and it's just is what it is, and we always do it. So, and he'll see me do it if we have like a big family meal or whatever. So I think it's nice for them to also see you in that role, and setting the example.
And at early age as well, they copy a lot of the things that we do, don't they? So do you see your kids copying stuff that you do?
Absolutely. Kids copy the good and the bad, mostly the bad.
Yeah, the embarrassing stuff.
Exactly. But, I think that the principle of example is really strong, and people say it a lot, but actually sometimes we often rely on telling and expecting people to do rather than doing and expecting people to do with. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's really important to establish that culture within the home, and we try and do that, and it could be anything. It doesn't have to be matters of faith. It could be the simplest thing of like tidying the bedroom or putting stuff away when you've been using them, or, taking your plate up once you've finished eating your food. And sometimes, especially in our life is busy all the time. There's stuff going on. I'm in and out of the house, and you're busy all the time. So it can be the easiest thing to kind of like get up and go and do that straight away because it's really, really important. But actually, remembering that still sets an example for your children, and you want them to obviously if something can't be helped, it can't be helped, but at the same time you want to instill good principles in them. So it's about trying to, I suppose, do what is right and encourage them and do it with them and, tidying together instead of, having a go and saying, yeah, tidy your room because it's really messy, or tidy up those toys because you've left them out. Actually, you can do it together, and that sets a much better example. And yeah, when they copy the good things, it's a relief. And they say their please and thank yous. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we're all trying to get there. It's all good. And so how do you keep your relationship with God going when it's so busy and chaotic? Are there ways that you've found that help?
It's tough to keep my personal relationship with God going. There are ways that help. For me, I just have to be straight up and just not lose the battle of reading every day, reading my Bible every day and praying every day. It's as simple as that. And even if it's just once, it's difficult because sometimes, when I'm on the go, it's a great time to be able to do it because I can just sit and read, or I can do whatever if I'm on a long train journey or something like that. But often when I'm filming, it's a lot more difficult because you're interacting with people all the time. And so I find that when you include just the smallest practice of, blessing your food or whatever it might be, sometimes that's a way for you to kind of reconnect. And of course, music is a very strong, a medium, I guess, for me, because, if I'm in the car or whatever, I can put music on, and that's, kind of an act of worship for me, which is incredibly powerful, of course. But yeah, I think, for me, just trying to read my Bible every day, and just, even if it's just, half an hour or 10 minutes or whatever you can, I think it makes a huge difference. And just kind of thinking about whatever it is that you read. And I do a devotional, which again is good for me because it's just a snippet, and sometimes it frustrates me because I really want to do more. I want to get into more, but often just thinking about that one verse, which usually can be quite easy to remember, is great. And I think a lot of people feel under pressure when it comes to that, but actually I always try and remind myself and obviously like to encourage people that at the end of the day, God knows who you are. He knows what you do for a job. He's provided that for you. So at the end of the day, he will understand, the struggles and understand all the things that you're going through. And I think what's more important than you battling and struggling to try and do something and try and keep in touch with God, actually just being honest and just saying, I'm really struggling with this, that and the other. Can you help me? Do you know what I mean? Because that's what would happen as a parent and a child, and that is ultimately the relationship that we have with God. So, when your kids say, oh, Daddy, can you help me do whatever? I do my shoes. Guess what? You go and help them do the shoes. So it's a very similar relationship, and that's what it should be all about.
That's brilliant. So what would you say to parents of little children who are going through similar things to you at the moment, and they want their kids to grow up to know Jesus? What one thing would you say to them?
The biggest thing that I would encourage parents to do is to pray for their children. Sometimes when you're super busy, you can, often we pray about our children, but really pray into their futures because, as I say, I don't believe it's something that we as parents should dictate necessarily, but obviously we'll see certain things, and we know our children, and you want to encourage them in that. But actually, really, just to leave it open. As an example, when I was growing up, as I say, music was a huge influence in my life, and I went through a period as a teenager where I kind of put music on the sidelines, and was very much focused on sport and rugby, and that was what I wanted to do. And I think, you know, my mum had sacrificed quite a lot, spent a lot on, you know, of money, giving me lessons and stuff like that, and you know, I'd played music obviously to quite a high standard, and you know, I think she would have been frustrated because she's just like, I've just spent all that time and all that effort and all that money, and now he doesn't even want to do any music. But actually, obviously, that came around full circle, and I ended up making a career out of music. So I think, you know, if you pray through those situations, sometimes you don't understand them, but they all, you know, it's all for a purpose, I believe. And yeah, just to support your children in that. There are lots of, especially as a teenager, there's so many external influences that often can be negative. But as I say, you know, in the Bible, God promises that all things work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And as Christian parents of children, they're still under your purpose until they become adults and make their own decisions. So you have a lot of power and a lot of sway, and it's up to you to do the best by it.
Thank you so much, JB, for talking to us today. It's been really, really great to hear your story.
Thank you.